I stand behind the as I can.
Stand. Whatever's easier.
You guys can sit. Ariel, you can sit. Ariel, you guys can sit. Come on, sit. No, you should.
Are you going to stand or? Okay. The only thing is, if we could ask with the camera, the live stream.
Oh, get out of the way.
Hi, everybody at home.
Okay. Members of the immediate family are wearing a black ribbon. In ancient times, upon hearing of the death of a loved one, people would literally tear their garments. So we model that today by wearing and tearing a black ribbon. If you could repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai Dayan Ha'emet. Praise you, eternal God, judge of the truth. Amen. Now you can tear from the bottom.
We are going to begin the funeral service for Mrs. Barbara Shifrin. If you have a cell phone, I'd ask you kindly to place it in the silent mode at this time. I'd also like to welcome everybody via live stream on behalf of the family. Thank you for attending. Services will be conducted by Rabbi Evan Mafik of Makom, Solel, Lakeside, and Highland Park.
Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey. From childhood to maturity, and youth to age. From innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing. From foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. These words, which were penned by Rabbi Alvin Fine, really express the Jewish philosophy of life and of death. And they tell us that we come here in grief, but we also come here as much as we can with the measure of gratefulness. Grateful that God blessed the world with the life of Barbara Shifrin. Our Jewish funeral service is fairly simple. It consists of some readings, some psalms, some reflections, and concludes with a Kaddish prayer. We'll continue now with the words of the 23rd Psalm. Those of you who know it, please feel free to join me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. At the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember Barbara Shifrin, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. As long as we live, Barbara too shall live. She is now a part of us as we remember her. I'd like to invite up several members of the family. First, Ken will read for Eugene, and be followed by Michael, Laurie, Steve, Bobby, and Ken.
For those of you who don't know, Gene was Barbara's husband many years ago, but they have kept an incredible connection throughout their years, even though they were divorced. And Gene, who's in Columbus, could not be here, but he wanted me to read these words. Barbara and I met over 50 years ago. We always had Laurie and Sherie in common. And in our later years, we've gotten to be pretty good friends. I visited her a few times in Northbrook, and over the past year, she was actually planning to visit me in Columbus in mid-November, which is coming up. This proves the old Jewish saying, people plan, God laughs. I want to share with you what I told Barbara on my last visit to her in Northbrook. I thanked her for giving me a most wonderful gift to my life. A family, 2 daughters, Sherie and Laurie, 5 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren, and 1 in the oven, due next month. In fact, at this time in our lives, Laurie and Janeane, and I have never been closer. All thankful to the link with Barbara. I can't be thankful enough for all the love Barbara brought into my life. Thank you, Babs. Love always. I'm having trouble just because the tears in my eyes. Gene, Eugene, Gino, and Yitzhak. He had all 4 names, and he answered to all of them.
Michael.
All right. Growing up with Grandma Shifrin, well, I know it's Grandma Shifrin. You guys, taught me. Growing up with Grandma Shifrin taught me a lot. I got my eating habits from her. She used to say she had an iron stomach because no matter what she ate, nothing ever upset her stomach. So now I can too eat pretty much anything and it not upset my stomach. When I was in the 3rd grade in Mrs. Vale's class, Grandma would help me study my spelling words every day to make sure I got every one of them right. She worked hard my entire life to make sure me and my sisters had a good life. She was always there my entire childhood. No matter what, I could always count on her. Grandma always cleaned my room for me and refused to let anyone but her do my laundry. I'd wake up in the morning and she would be making her animals eggs. Yeah. Eggs, yeah. Like, yeah. We had this pit bull named Mary Jane, and Mary Jane would sprint as fast as she could around the yard, and Grandma would laugh hysterically. When I was young, Grandma would pick up hitchhikers and homeless people and give them a ride. So last night, I saw a homeless man, and I picked him up and I gave him a ride. In memory of Grandma. Because that's the things Grandma taught me to do. I was Grandma's baby. She always wanted a boy, and I was like the boy she always wanted. She would tell me she was my dad growing up. She loved going out of her way for the people she loved, and her favorite thing to do was shopping. Yeah. Grandma was a very good, happy person. Grandma was a very happy person. She was mostly always in a good mood, and not too much ever really bothered her. I never really seen her upset. All the women in the family are strong and crazy. No offense, guys. Grandma liked being alone. It gave her peace. She hated men, but that was just Grandma. She would name her cars. I remember Nancy was a little red car she had, a Honda. Me and her had an inside joke. She'd tell me the money's in the bag when she'd be doing good at work. Grandma had a really good sense of humor, and I had a lot of fun with her. There was never a dull moment. Grandma and me had a special bond, and I'm pretty sure I was her favorite. I'm grateful for her, and I will cherish all the beautiful memories that I shared with her. I loved making her laugh. I talked to her last week, and I made a joke about her and Popsy sleeping in the same bed together. She laughed and told me I was crazy. You will be missed, Grandma, by all of us, and I will always cherish our memories and time together.
I just want to let everybody know I love my mom. I'm happy she's at peace, and she's with Sherie and Destine and up with the angels. I hope to see you soon. I love you, Mom.
Good morning to everyone physically present and to those joining us virtually. We appreciate your attendance as we conduct the graveside funeral services for my recently departed deceased sister, Barbara Shifrin. Hi, Barb. As most of you know, I am Barbara's older brother, Steve. Barb and I have an age difference of almost 3 years. Ken, my younger brother, is 2.5 years younger than Barbara. These time parameters are really easy to measure and determine. They are constant. What is difficult to measure is the emotional feelings I have experienced in losing a sibling as quickly as we lost Barbara. I have also tried to determine all of the contributions that she has added to my life. I was just thinking, it was a little over 2 weeks ago, on a Friday morning, that we met at Home Depot. We were running around to all of the departments in the kitchen improvement section, and they were not exactly next to each other, for almost 3 hours as she examined samples and made her last selections for the final phases of the kitchen remodeling project she had begun over 2 months ago. She was excited about the project, but every time we turned, there was a roadblock. There was a COVID production problem. They couldn't get the logistics to get the cabinets here. And it was just one thing after another. And she was excited about the project in spite of all these barriers. Except for, she did complain to me that she had all of the kitchen packed in these boxes all over the condo. She accepted the challenge with this project, as she had with most events in her life, with determination and persistence. She would get this done, that I knew. I noticed that she looked a little bit pale that day, but I thought, maybe she's running around, could be anything. And I asked her, I said, "Are you okay?" And she says, "Yeah, it's just that maybe I've been inside due to the weather, but I'm just fine." Stepping back a few years, Barbara had previously relocated from Rockford, where she had lived for many years, and there she raised her children. She moved back after my mother's death into my mother's condo in the fall of 2015. She moved to a new area in which she had never lived. She didn't know a soul. She had no job. And she welcomed the challenge. She got in the car. She packed it all up. I met her at the condo, and we started bringing everything in. She said she wished to continue to work as a caregiver to the elderly. She really enjoyed that. She was leaving behind her children in Rockford, but they were older now, and she knew that the mutual visits were only a car ride away. The Northbrook condo became a place of refuge and relaxation after spending all her time and resources to assist in the raising of the children while maintaining her full-time job. She was now spending her time on new caregiving assignments, she found, and in her spare time pursued reading, biking, and as usual, she had very little time for herself. She didn't complain. She just did it. She loved the routine. During this time, Barb and I communicated, at least weekly. I usually started the conversation when I called her with, "Hi, Barb." And she usually retorted to me, "What's going on?" We then would express our thoughts and ideas. The call always ended the same way, with the words, "Love ya." If she called me and I wasn't available, the voicemail message was the same. It was always, "Steve, this is your sister." Okay. I was fortunate to know my sister for all of her 74 years. She was and always will be my kid sister. Now she's gone. She has died. This is a complete shock to me, what occurred during the last 2 weeks of her life. All her previous medical visitations with the many doctors she saw always were reported as excellent, and they were supported by diagnostic tests. Barb was proud that her doctors always compliment her how healthy she was for a woman of her age. She seemed to be on the same path as most of the women in our family. And they reached well into their 80s and 90s. How could Barb's recent death occur? It was so surreal to me. I have long ago realized that I cannot insert a question mark where God has put a period. It just is, and I'm helpless to change or reverse the situation. I now turn to the thoughts of what Barb taught me. Those qualities indicated the value in pursuing your passions, especially in your career and your path in life. She always told me, love what you do, be independent, be ready, be on time. I learned about her perseverance in addressing all the challenge presented to you in your life. I learned the characteristic to remain calm. Don't get upset. Many of these I just mentioned, unfortunately for me, are still a work in progress. Amen to that, right, Aunt? I will always remember that quiet, bright-eyed, and that welcoming, big, cheerful smile. She was always on her mission to provide kindness and generosity. She was always willing to help. I also witnessed the meaning of compassion, and especially the message to do your best, even if you have to sacrifice some of yourself. I admired her approach to mastering the operational challenges of even the new technology. When she upgraded to her new smartphone, she worked at it over and over until she felt confident in its operation. Steve Jobs would have been proud of her. I also appreciated the feeling of the unity of the family that this past epic 2 weeks, as we all addressed Barb's medical issues as presented. We all worked together, and I am gracious for the service provided by Ken and Bobby as we continued the care and comfort and the decisions we were faced with daily for Barbara. I heard from other members of the family as well, offering support and assistance. We were together. We were unified. We were one. Then I turned to the thoughts of the tangible things that Barbara had given to me over the years. One item I particularly treasure was a large tree of life she had actually made herself from a kit of metal. She had it framed, she painted it, and in a circle of wood that she chose. The tree had 3 main branches. I know now that one of those branches has fallen and is broken. I know the other 2 branches will carry on as long as we all can. Yet Barbara leaves the lower branches, the smaller ones, represented by her children, their children, and even her great-grandchildren. Life is a journey of opening new doors and sometimes closing old doors. We move from room to room in our lives. It does give me comfort that I was so lucky to have Barb in my life all these years. I will remember the simple aura of just her being. Sure, I cried and grieved a lot this week, but the tears have really cleansed my eyes to see the positive contributions and memories. So I'd like to inquire of Barb if she would hear simply, "Hey, Barb, what's going on?" L'chaim to my dear sweet sister. You define the word. And always remember, we love you. One more thing, Barb. I promise you, I will finish that kitchen exactly the way you planned and wished. Peace, Barbara, and let me say simply, shalom. Thank you.
This is a letter to Barbara. Dear Barbara, as I look back over the years since I first met you, as I really think about your life and now your death, there are important lessons that I know will stay with me for the rest of my life. It is said it is never too late to learn new things, and I hope that's true. I'm telling you now that I love you, that I respect you, that I appreciate your strength and kindness, that I see you in a different way now, that you have left a profound impression on me. I will always regret never saying those things to you. Therein lies the lesson for me, and one that is important to share with those closest to you. Never wait to spell it out. Lay it out there. Don't just rely on perfunctory, "I love you." You never know when it'll be too late. A sudden, irrevocable turn of events blocking your path. I so wish I had realized these truths about you and had expressed them directly to you before it was suddenly too late. Others here can speak to your childhood years, the challenges and events that shaped you. You were a profile in courage, but I only understand that now. From the 1980s on, your devotion to your children and grandchildren was steady, unwavering. The ultimate caregiver, you lived with your adult children and 3 of your grandchildren, providing financial and emotional support to the very best of your ability. And then later, as a professional caregiver for a series of elderly women, you always showed up to work with a smile, patience, loving presence, at times not reciprocated. Throughout your life, you always worked hard, and when mistreated, always turned the other cheek. You never lost your will to please, to make things easier for those around you, to never complain. You never asked for help, never guilt-tripped anyone, never demanded or asked those near to you, make room for me in your hearts. You appreciated the help that was offered to you, never asked for or demanded anything, always appreciative, always smiling. This was your default setting up until the very end. Thank you, Bobby, for visiting me. A big smile for me, a day away from your last breath. No tears, no why me's. A diamond in the rough, a truly unique and admirable human being who deserved every one of life's pleasures and received far less. Buffeted by storms, always a survivor, putting one step in front of the other no matter what. A huge, strong heart, never judgmental, negative, critical, accepting everything. The twists and turns of your life's journey, the tragedies that so often outnumbered the triumphs. In the last few years, Ken and I had begun to spend more quality time with you. And as you know, we were looking forward to more. And suddenly, and I do mean suddenly, in that less than 2 weeks, you went from living your normal life to taking your last breath. We will never know whether you were suffering silently or blissfully unaware of the cancer invading your body at breakneck speed. Perseverance in the face of adversity was the only way you knew how to live. Barbara, I will remember you. I will miss your sunny, agreeable disposition, your ready smile, your love for your brothers and for me and your other sister-in-laws. Whenever I meet a challenge with acceptance and grace, when I smile and appreciate what is offered to me, when I wear the gifts that you have given me, when I lift weights at the health club, when I wear red, when I choose acceptance, when I show strength in the face of a firestorm, when I appreciate my family, when I articulate my love with more than platitudes, it will be you whispering in my ear.
So yes, I'm the younger brother and proud of it. Loving, caring, an angel, sweetest. I thought I wrote this. I could read it better. I mean, I wrote it out. Kindest, truly the best person. These are just a few of the comments about Barb that have come in over the past few days from so many different people, and all the same thing. I just want to add a few more, some of which we touched upon here today. Loyal, compassionate, strong, both physically and emotionally. Her grandchildren just used to share with me that she would come up and say, "Feel my legs, see how strong they are." Hardworking. Nobody worked harder than Barb. I think there was that Yiddish term, schwer Arbeiter. That was Barb. Stoic. Probably an Oronsky trace that we got from our grandpa, accepting all the trials and tribulations that were part of her life. Generous. Barb never had a lot of money, but whatever she had, she made certain that her daughters and granddaughters would have a better life. Excuse me, I said grandchildren. Discipline. Yesterday or 2 days ago at 6 a.m., Bobby and I hear an alarm going off with beautiful music playing. And we look at each other and say, what is that? Barbara had on her iPhone an alarm for 6 a.m. every single morning. Whether it was getting ready to go to work, probably was 5 o'clock when she used to do that. In the later years of her life, it was for her getting up to go work out. That she'd be one of the first ones at the health club. Fiercely independent. I don't ever remember her asking me or my brother for help, despite all the adversity she's faced during her lifetime. Caregiver. Later in life, she found her joy and passion in helping and getting compensated for people who are in need. And she truly, truly loved it. Barb was a caregiver in every sense of the word. But if I have to come up with one word to describe my sister, the word that comes to mind is selfless. Someone who's concerned more with the needs and wishes of everyone else rather than her own. That is the essence of Barbara. My brother said a few things of what we've learned from Barbara over the years. And I said at our mother's funeral 8 years ago that Shar taught us many things, how to live and love and how to die. In the past few days, I don't know why it took so long, I've come to realize that Barb had many of these same wonderful characteristics, and especially how she faced the end of her life. Although she was a fighter, she made it clear that she did not want to suffer. Despite what was going on, whenever anyone came in the room in the hospital or even at the hospice facility, she had this big smile on her face. Who does that? Any pain or discomfort, Barb? No, I'm fine. I need some Penix. I'm sorry. They're sniffling the whole time. Need anything? No, I'm good. She realized she was dying. And I'm not certain if I'm glad that she did or not. She told me she could not live without lungs. But yet, she did not shed a single tear. She even said before the day she died, I haven't cried yet. As you can see, I'm not as strong as she was. I'm going to share one more story about Barb's final journey. When we got her to the hospice facility in Glenview at Journey Care, Steve and I had an opportunity to be with her. We took up vigil next to her bed and took turns holding her hands. And we played music. Barb said she liked Adele. I never knew that. I don't know if you did, but she liked Adele. God bless her. Try listening to Adele for 8 hours straight on a loop. If I heard Rolling in the Deep one more time, I was going to scream. I couldn't do it. I complained to Bobby on the phone, and she said, try Barbra Streisand. She loves Barbra Streisand. Thank you, Bobby. I found a station on my phone, played wonderful, random Barbra Streisand music, and it kept repeating every 45 minutes, but it was fine. And even the nurse said, "Boy, you have wonderful music." I said, "This is the music my sister likes." The last song that Barbara heard as she passed away was "The Rose," sung originally by Bette Midler in a movie. And Barbra Streisand was singing it. After she was gone, I wondered about all the songs that had played in the past 24 hours. There had to be 200 of them. Why was "The Rose" the last song that she and I heard together? I went home and looked up the symbolism of roses. Depending upon the color, they mean love, passion, sacrifice, courage, or loyalty. Where have we heard that before? Who is that? But I also wanted to find out more about the lyrics and what the song meant. And this is what I found that someone wrote. "The Rose" is a song about someone, is a song about how someone should approach and live life. When on the most basic level, the words can be interpreted to mean each of us has the power to decide if we can find love in our lives. The phrase is, from the song, "I say love, it is a flower, and you, its only seed." The song also teaches us that even if there is suffering in your life, you shouldn't run from it. 5 or 6 of the most powerful lines in that song are dedicated to making the point that suffering, hardship, and not always getting your way teaches us how valuable life is and how it should be appreciated. The final lines of the song are, "Just remember, in the winter, far beneath the snow, lies the seed that with the sun's love, in the spring, becomes the rose." How symbolic was it that "The Rose" was the last song to be played as my sister took her last breath? Barb was our rose. She taught us that despite whatever adversity we may face, life is too valuable and should always be appreciated with love, passion, sacrifice, compassion, loyalty, and courage. Rabbi Moffat recited a poem that has very special meaning to me about in the blowing of the wind and how we remember. Remembering Barbara will now be my sacred honor. So to everyone here, and to those of you who knew and loved Barbara and are watching remotely, please consider to honor my sister by keeping the memory of her a blessing. And whenever you see a rose, think about Barbara.
Such powerful remarks from everybody. And I'll just simply add this. We are not too far away from the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. It's coming early this year. And one thing about Hanukkah is, you know, in many things in life, it's zero sum. You give from somebody, you take from another person. But what happens with the Hanukkah candles is you take one light and you light another, and you light another, and you light another, increasing it until we have all the lights lit. And those lights, they're not diminished when we light another. Our own light doesn't decline or doesn't decrease when we light another candle. In fact, it makes it even brighter. It adds to the brightness. It adds to the warmth. And as we learned so eloquently, Barbara Shifrin's life added to so many other lives. It added kindness. It added depth. It added love. And that's represented so beautifully here today. And the bright Hanukkah, the bright light, shines on through all those who knew and loved her. In particular, it shines on through Eugene, through Laurie, through Janeane, and Michael, and Jonah, and Ariel, and her great-grandchildren, Bryella and Bennett. And it's cherished, as Ken so put it, by Ken, and by Steve, and Bobby, and her nieces and nephews, and great-nieces and great-nephews. And in Jewish tradition, the way we honor a loved one, the way we remember a loved one, is by saying the words, Zichrona Livracha. May her memory be a blessing. These words convey the purpose of a well-lived life. That those who know you, those who come after you, those who remember you, look to your life as a blessing, a benediction, and an inspiration. Being a blessing means that you have touched the lives of those you knew, and that you have helped them to do the same for others. For everybody here, for everyone watching on Zoom, for all those whose lives she touched and who touched hers. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. May the memory of Barbara Shifrin endure among us as an everlasting blessing. God, you give us loved ones, and you make them the strength of our life and the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us bereft on a lonely way, but you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you, the stricken look for comfort, and the sorrow-laden for consolation. God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures, and the soul endures, as you, O God, endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in a world that is the dwelling place of your love and your presence. I'd ask you now, if you're able, to please rise as we say our final prayers. El Malay Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamtei Menucha Nechona Tachad Shechina, Im Kidoshim V'Toharim Kazohar Hakim Azhirim, and Nishmat Barbara Shifrin, Shechalcha La'olama, Ba Harachamim Yas Yireha Beseter Kenafav La'olamim, Vayitur B'Tur Chaim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata V'Tanuach B'Shalom Amishkava V'Nomar, Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our beloved wife, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, sister, loved one, friend, Barbara Shifrin, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and may her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. For you, the eternal God, are her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us all say, Amen. Our final prayer is the Kaddish prayer, our traditional Jewish prayer of mourning. And the Kaddish reminds us, as Ken also said, that the way we honor a loved one is by remembering them, remembering their most wonderful qualities and seeking to integrate them into our own life. So as is ancient Jewish tradition, we say together, Yitkadosh, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Ve'alma, Hivra, Hirute, Ve'amlich Malchute, V'chayecho, Yomechon, Uchaye Dechol, Beit Yisrael, V'agala, U'bizman, Kari, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah, Muharach, Le'olam, Le'omei, Amaya. Yisbarach, Yishtabach, Yishba'ar, Yishmanam, Yishmaseh, Yitadar, Yitalev, Yitalah, Shemei, Kusha, Rifu, Va'ela, Shirata, Vishirata, Tushpatata, Vinetramata, Rami Randi Alma, Vimru, Amen. Yehesh Rama, Rabba, Mishamaya, B'chaim, Aleni, Ve'al Yisrael, Vimru, Amen. Say Shalom, Bimramah, say Shalom. Aleni, Ve'al Yisrael, Vimru, Amen. May God, the source of peace, send peace to all of us who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, and let us all say, Amen. You can wait a few moments while the casket is lowered, and then everyone is invited to shovel earth. It's considered among the most sacred acts we can do because, unlike many things we do in life, because we get something out of it, when we shovel earth, it's an act that we do purely out of love. So as soon as the cover is placed, you may come forward.
And I am going to give us all an opportunity while this is going on to hear the last song that Barb and I heard together.
Soul to bleed. Some say love, it is a
to come forward and shovel earth, feel free to do so, and that will complete our service.
Connected to Ken Brown's iPhone.
Family and friends, this does conclude the service at the graveside, and Shiva will be private. Thank you.